Hosting service and Zwane. People introduce me as pastor of Zwane, but pastor is not in my ID. I'm Zwane. Yes, well, it's not a friend here, I'm not a stranger here. First time I came here, I shared about the life of crime that I used to be part of and how God took me by the hand and took me and rescued me from that. And it's been a beautiful journey, 20-something years, free from all that negative thinking to coming back and be a positive influencer in your community. So today I'm here to have a conversation with you about how to lead in a community that the majority of people live in poverty. I just want to share. I'm not teaching, I'm sharing my experience and the things that I think would work for us as a community of people to assist someone who lives in this way, or even assist a community that is in that challenge. You know, when I started living in this community, I felt sorry for myself because my goal was to make people rich. And it really trained me. It trained me as a leader and as a person. And I remember a story of a guy who wrote a book about how to become rich, and then he called his neighbor asking for money to go and print his book. And then the neighbor said, "Go read your book." So I felt like that. But now the goal has changed. And you might ask yourself, what has changed? If the goal is not to make people rich, it's not to take people rich, poor people and make them rich, what's the goal then? The goal is to bring them hope. And if the goal is to bring them hope, the journey becomes so fulfilling. The journey, the leadership is different, the strategy is different. The content at which you lead by is different. You try and get people, because I've discovered that we are creatures of hope. And once we put your heart and mind into a living hope, you make different decisions. Once your hope are in perishable things, you make foolish decisions. This, or anyone who's advanced in years would know this. So since the hope has changed, I'm enjoying the leadership. So we started our church in Rosebank. When we started our church in Rosebank, where there was a pool, there was a look of prosperity. The church is in Rosebank in the north. There's grass, big yard, flowers. Everything is nice. So when you come in, you meet this look of prosperity, and it feels like you have arrived. But I've discovered that in Rosebank, we had people with a different kind of poverty. In Rosebank, we thought to ourselves, you will go to the north, find people who are middle class, better developed, partner with them so that we go as a group, go back to our community to empower people. But we discovered a different kind of poverty that we've never seen. This is what I call a clean poverty. It's clean because you look like you're prosperous, but deep down you are poor. And you are doing your best to hide it. You're doing your best. All your energies are spent in hiding your poverty more than dealing with it. And this is what I've experienced in Rosebank. And we decided to go back to Soweto. And when we got to Soweto, we were familiar with Soweto. We were raised in Soweto, born in Soweto, in Orlando East, where the real team is. And when we got to Soweto, we met up with a different challenge, where the poverty is there. You can't hide it. It's obvious. You can see it. And because you can see it, you are met up with it, you have to do something about it. But the problem is you are poor yourself, and you have to encourage yourself, you have to encourage the people. And this is where I believe is the fun of leadership. I think sometimes I believe God wants us to live in the edge and just hold on to him and trust him, because this is where the fun of leadership is. But there are so many challenges. So when we got in Soweto, we started we are still at my parents' place, but we are no longer in the dining room, because we started in the dining room, but we grew to the garage. Then we outgrew the garage. Now we erect a tent every Sunday, put in the tent. Somebody donated a tent to us, and we put it up every Sunday, 5 o'clock. We take it down after church. This is the fun part. Every time we set up the tent, you'll find people who don't come to church. They normally don't come to church. And because they don't come to church, by 5 o'clock, they are there to put up the tent. And we have conversations. And it's so fun to hear they did not sleep. They've been drinking their worries away during the night. And others will come, hey, Pastor, hey, we forgot to sleep last night. They say they forgot to sleep, and then we'll have conversations. And this is what I'm enjoying, to be there with them. And we put up the tent, and we are sharing certain nuggets of wisdom with them as we are putting up the tent. But when the church starts, they don't come in. They are there at the corner there, smoking their dacha, doing whatever that they are doing. But what do? We put up one speaker out there. As we are preaching, they are also hearing. And there is ufafi. Do you know ufafi? China. It's a gambling thing that is done by the Chinese. It's called fafi. They come in, they bet. So just at the time when I'm preaching, it's people come in just to wait for that fafi. So we've got two people with different hope. This one, they have hope in the gospel. They've got hope in the money to win the lottery and all this in this. And I'm watching all this. It's interesting to watch. And as we teach, as we go along, so one Sunday, we did not put up a tent, because the majority of the church members were not around. We had a family wedding somewhere, and many people were. So we decided as a church not to meet that Sunday. The calls I was getting from the people who don't come to church. Where's the tent? Where's the church? And then they started giving us feedback, the kind of hope they have every Sunday when they see that tent come up. Then these are the things that encourage you as a leader, right? But the downside is this: when last year sometime we woke up in the morning on these news where a taxi came to a tavern, a bar or something. They shot about 15 young people dead. And this is where we went as a church. I led a group of pastors around for prayer, and we counseled with families, we counseled with the community. For the first time, I had a taste on how it felt like, on the night God killed all the firstborns in Egypt. It was sad to see, because poverty has got its sister, which is crime and drugs. These sisters, they go together. So these young people, they're trying to deal with their own poverty in this night life with drinking. And these people who we don't know what happened. Even today, we don't know what happened. But these people just came in, shot everybody. 15 young people died. It was said it was tough as a leader to encourage the community, to bring the message of hope, to encourage them to look at life in a positive manner again. So I remember sitting back thinking, and I came across this scripture in 1 Samuel 22. And it just moved me because this is one thing that encouraged me to lead this way. It says, David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down to him there. And then this is what caught me. It says, all those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him, and he became their commander. About 400 men were with him. I remember looking at this verse, looking at the community I'm in, find myself, now if I have to be charismatic, I found myself being David with all these people, because you have these massacres are happening. You look at the young people who are so given to alcohol and nightlife. And you have these few people who come every Sunday to draw some hope from the church. Said to myself, there's something going on here. If we can just think properly, we will know how to get these people out. But the goal should be the same. The goal should be bring hope to them. And then all these things, you find others, they come to church, a young person with hope, potential, they walk with you for a while, and then they abandon you. When you go to their parents, they say, she's not been home for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. A young person, age 13, 14. These are the things you come up with. But then you ask yourself, how do we get out? How do you live in a situation like this? Then I thought, number one priority is to bring hope. That's number one. Because to try and promise them material gain, you are not solving the problem. Actually, you are encouraging it, because they will go after material and still continue in their bad behavior. So you bring hope. The biggest task is to make them believe. This is the toughest thing. I guess that is why it's done by God, to make them believe the gospel. That's the tough part. But here's the good part, because this giving this gospel, it helps in this way, because this is what I'm observing. These are the signs I'm observing. There's this one particular young man. He has a disfigured hand. He uses one hand. His family, it's poverty. It's been poverty since we grew up. It's been poverty. This young man comes regularly at church, but after church he goes out, he plays, he goes and gambles with dice, and he does all these other things. But now what I noticed in him, one day we were putting down the tent, and then when we put down the tent, somebody drops money. He's known that side to be somebody, if you drop money like that, you'll never find it in front of him. But in this particular day, after him coming to church for a long time, he picks it up, he says, whose money is this? And then one person says, no, God is giving it to you. Then he says, no, I've got my money. Whose money is this? And this one, if I take it, I'm not going to sleep at night. And then we laughed about it, and I looked at it and said, okay, it means this message is going into this young man. He's beginning to his moral compass is beginning to be challenged by the message. He's now, he might not quote the verses, might not quote the Bible, but something is happening to him. And I observed my father's language. My father is somebody who never comes to church, never, but because the church is in his house, so he comes and sits and listens. But now I see him. My mother came to me the other time and said, Nhlanhla, my mother called me Nhlanhla. I'm now enjoying your father. Oh, so this thing here works. He does not know where the verses are, but he's changing his ways. He's beginning to, his language, when he speaks, he refers to God as Father. He never used to talk like that. So I'm hopeful that as we continue to preach the gospel, this thing is sinking in. Because that's the first, I think that's the foundation, that's the ground that we need to build. Make them believe the gospel. And you use the strategy of Luke 4:18, when Jesus Christ, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. I've always asked Jesus, give money to the poor. Why are you preaching to them? And then I discovered that oppression dulls the mind. Any kind of oppression dulls the mind. And the problem with the dull mind is that it does not have the capacity to know that it is dull. So the only thing that will rejuvenate this mind is hope in the gospel, and not hope in things, hope in the eternal promise that comes from God. Once we do that right, I believe everything will fall into place. And secondly, we must do small things that are achievable. There's a lady who came in, her brother was depressed, sleeping all the time. And then what she did, she woke him up, she took him, she went to Pretoria, she bought a bucket of peanuts. They sat together, bent them, put them together, and they put up a stall for him to sell. That boy, as we speak, the last time I spoke to the lady, he had 20,000 in his account and having employed 3 other guys who are selling for him. This is just a small action, achievable. It's not something big, turning your stars to scars, lime to lemonade type of thing. It's practical, putting someone there in the corner, supporting that one with his car wash, doing all these achievable things. One of the things that we are doing now, we have started gardens, encouraging the members to use a small part in their yard just to plant. All we want them to taste what this land can do for them, what they can do. This is achievable. So we try and partner with people to help us buy seeds so that we give it to them, and we come to check their gardens. There are boys whom we are grooming to come and water the gardens, join with them. Small things that are achievable. We try and do that so that people will get hope. This hope is not just the hope of preaching, it's also the hope in their ability to do stuff, that they can do this. And we are working within a community that already believes in working together. Because we are taking advantage of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, when you go next door, you ask for bread, sugar. This is not something to be frowned upon. That's how we live. That's how we overcame the oppression. That's how we live. So we take advantage of that. We are using each one's yard. So there's this element. I like this putting tents thing. It's working because it's not a building that is there that people look at it and think, no, we are not fit enough to be part of that. This tent, as they put it together, they feel as though they are part of this thing that is happening. So even the people in our streets, they don't even object with us putting a tent there. They even come and help to put the tent. So when we come to their yard and ask them to give us a space to put in a garden, and that garden is going to feed them and all that, it's fun. It's giving them hope. It's encouraging them to participate in their development. It's something that I truly enjoy. And what I find is that the privileged people, they don't know how to support the poor. It's not that they don't want to, they just don't know. They don't know. They need to be taught. They need to be told what to do. Because people have discovered, poor people, they think they need money, but in reality, they need other people to work with them. If we have more programs of people coming in, having events that affirm people, we hug them, we pray together, we plant together, we water the gardens together. Because one thing I've discovered in the scriptures, it says you are poor because you don't have people on your side. That's the part of poverty that we don't understand. That is why people spend time and time again to try and hide their poverty. Because when you are poor, no one wants to associate with you. No one wants to. So the best thing for the poor, the clean poor people, they will try to look the part so that at least they will get the high, the hug, the conversation. So to solve this poverty thing, we truly have to be Christian about it and go down and be with the people and find our joy in being with the people, in being there. Then we can throw our money at it. In that way, I believe the leadership will come. This is what I'm trying to push our church to go to, because we have people who drive into our church from our previous place where we were, who are driving in, who still walked with us. And I'm encouraging them. I have this one boy who decided to sell. He was driving Mercedes-Benz, the expensive one. He sold it when he bought a small car. And he says to me, Pastor, I'm content with Christ. Now I can give my money to the poor. I realize I don't need that car to cover myself. And I said, this is the powerful message. If it's able to do this, then we should teach it more. We should act on it more and encourage more people to partner with us as we deal with poverty. That's the strategy I'm using to lead in a poverty-stricken community. Thank you very much.
Oh. Lots of time for discussion. Thank you.
Intentionally. So.
Okay. I mean, one of the issues. Sorry, I'm just playing my. What did you say? My key poverty thing. So one of the issues is that the people who have a little bit and the people who don't really live quite far apart.
Yeah.
So it's much, I'd much rather throw money because it's so far to get to.
Yeah.
Drive.
I understand that, and I really sympathize with it. My encouragement and motivation is some things are acquired. Every Saturday, I take my son to soccer. When it started, I said, this is an inconvenience. I want my Saturdays. I want to do my stuff on Saturdays. But I realized later, if he does not have a game on Saturday, I don't know what to do with myself. Because I've now learned a new habit. I've learned a new way of doing stuff. I just want to encourage and say, it is fun to do this. People don't know that there's a fun side in driving, and the only reason you are driving is to make a difference to someone's life. And it's my encouragement. I understand if it's impossible for you, try it once a month. Don't do it every day. Just try it once a month. Throw money at it and try it once a month. Throw money at it, try it once a month. Eventually, you will be familiar with the people. You'll be in touch with their challenges. You will know them by name. You will start praying for them privately. You'll be starting to do this thing. And in no time, you'll be connected to them. And this thing will just take you over. And that's what I'm praying for. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good answer.
I think you addressed part of my question is if you're in a poverty-stricken community, I think often to reach people, you need to address their needs first, also before they even open to anything. Now, you spoke about the gardens and everything, but what else do you do to sort of help address needs? Because I mean, first and foremost, that's the essential thing.
Well, the essential thing can be debated, even though I appreciate, because if you have no food, you have no motivation or even the energy to do what needs to be done. So the priority will be there. But I've also discovered there's another need which is essential to people, is for them to be listened to and help them make decisions. Making decisions is tough. When I came here, they asked me, what are you going to drink? It's tough. It's tough to make decisions, especially if there's no craving that is supporting you. If I was craving this, it was going to be easy. What do you want, child, a day? But I had to concoct something and use my brain. And some people, because making decisions is tough, they give up on the idea. And when they give up on the idea, they give their lives over to somebody else. And that's when their poverty starts, right? So to reverse that, we need to be there and encourage them to make a decision. Interview them. What do you think? Hey, do you think it's going to work this way? And people find that, I find that when you give time to people like that, they enjoy it. And they come in with the other ideas, and you'll be worn out with the ideas coming out, but eventually they'll make a decision and move in a particular direction. But you do them, it's not this, not that. It both ends. You do them together as you meet their needs, and you do that. And one thing that we do in our church for that immediate need, the tithe and the offering, they all go back to the community, all of them. We call it a storehouse. We encourage people to bring into the storehouse there so that there is food in my house. So we encourage people, you must not go to bed hungry. Call the church. We will do something about your hunger. So it's that. So we meet that with tithe and offering. In the meantime, listen, have conversation with people, teach them the gospel, and do little things that can be done. So it's a full-time job. It's big, it's not small, but it becomes bearable when you have your team at the break, when you have people that you can call and say, you know what we have done now? We have a Bible library, not Bible library, bicycle library. The reason why we have a bicycle library is because we've seen around in our community, you'll find in the street that has got about 20 families, only one family with a kid that is riding a bicycle. The rest of the kids, they're running behind this kid with the bicycle. And then the next thing what happens, they steal the bicycle, sell it to other communities or change it to another community. Then we saw this when my wife did a surprise party for me. I challenged people there to say, some of you've got bicycles that you're no longer using. Please donate them to us. So in this bicycle library, children who don't have bicycles and their parents can't afford, they can come and borrow the bicycle here, and everybody's playing. And we are using that as a point of contact on how we can engage with the kids, let them ride. But now it gives us another challenge to manage this thing, to fix the bicycles. And so now we are forced to go and talk to other people to come, hey, bring us at least better bicycles, because now people are throwing them. Yeah, but it's a good management to have. But these are things that we do, those small things that you can achieve that will give you a reason to have a conversation with the person. So basically, that's it. I know I took the long route, but it's yeah.
As you were talking, some of the pieces fell into place, or fell more into place for me. I'm involved with a charity, and we have a fairly rich congregation, and then we have this charity. And yes, there's a lot of, well, not enough throwing of money at this, and on the face of it, we have a money problem. But I've discovered a while ago that it's not that; it's the involvement problem.
Yeah.
You know, what is this corporate joke? Yeah. I'm from head office. I'm here to help. You cannot do that. You cannot sort of step in and do your thing to sort of pat yourself on the back and then step out. It doesn't work. You have to engage. You have to spend off yourself.
Yeah.
We think it's a money problem, but it's not. It's an involvement problem.
Exactly. It's not. The power is in the conversation.
Yeah.
In conversations, ideas come up. In conversation, you make me see something that I never saw before. And that's all people need. I was fascinated when I saw a verse that says, two verses that really changed my outlook to poverty. It says, there's plenty in the land of the poor, but injustice takes it away. So that's another issue that cause poverty. And then there's this verse that says, you're poor because you don't have people on your side. And then that's another issue to say. Then I realized that I do my best not to look poor, even if I am. I do my best because I don't want to be rejected. As human beings, we have that need to be. Then I looked at the gospel, I looked at Christ who became poor so that we be rich. And that poverty in the prosperity cycle is interpreted on material terms, but the poverty that Jesus Christ took encompasses everything. It's not only material, it's also the loss of God, loss of the wisdom of God, loss of all these things so that we may gain them. And what he did, he came to the people. He became one with them, conversed with them, challenged their worldview, challenged their thinking, and all that. And people were inspired to think differently. And when I saw that, I was like, that's how we should deal with poverty. We sometimes think we'll deal with poverty with throwing money. It's good throwing money because it gives us a short-term feeling of feeling supported. But if the mind is not, or the heart is not encouraged for better things in terms of hope, you are still going to be, that is why we find charity organizations who raise money for the poor and use it for themselves. And the corruption continue because we are not dealing with what we need to be dealing with, which is being human and just do this thing as human beings, where I cry to you, you cry to me, share with you, share with me, we share ideas, we share resources, we share wisdom, we share influence, we share everything to make this thing work. I believe once we can forge that, we will be able to win. It's tough, by the way, to lead this way. It's tough because you have people who come in, want to push you in another direction, who think you are in here for money. Say, if you want to be successful, you want to be this, do that. But when you look at the advice, it's more about making you big than helping the people. So when you take that route, you're going to have a lot of no's and very few yeses, but it's fulfilling. Amen.
So you've kind of half answered it, but help me make the connection. You're very one of the things I know you're very keen on is apologetics. Okay,
Yes.
so now how does that work together? So on the one hand, we have the lots of people with very little resources to go around the problem, and how is apologetics something else, or how does it connect to that?
No, apologetics is big on in a sense that the same people we say are in poverty. There's an interesting element on this. They have access to social media, so it means they can find data somewhere. And they have got, if you can go to any squatter camp, just drive around, you'll see dishes from DSTV, and DSTV is not cheap, but they have it. So the point is they have access to social media, meaning they have access to listen to all other people who are speaking a different language. And what I've noticed about people who push the agenda of trying to change the narrative to be African and all that, the majority of them that I've had conversation with them or followed and listened to what they're saying, because I'm forever looking for people to partner with to try and solve this problem. But when I see it's more about them, they are selling books, they're doing, they just want to be rich themselves. They also want to get out of poverty. And they bring solutions that when you analyze them, they don't take us to where we want to go. That's where apologetics come in. That's where apologetics come in to refute these solutions that don't make us human, but they further divide us. And you show that side of Christianity that says there's neither Jew nor Gentiles, no slave nor free, and defend the truth and show that this is the truth. This is what liberates. All these other solutions, yes, they are trying to address the poverty issue, but when you look 5-10 steps forward, they will take us back to where we are. Like, for instance, the argument I will make all the time, which is where apologetics becomes important. To say, if you are pushing the agenda of Black people emancipating only as Black people, what is the after effect of that? 50 years down the line, we'll be having what we have, but only changed colors. Same thing. But because we are not solving a human problem, we are just looking at the economics. But when you're looking just at the economics, it's like you want to check your petrol gauge, but you're looking at the temperature gauge. You think you still have petrol, but you are actually running out. But what we need is human solution. What do human beings need? Hope. They need to know how to think, reason, to create within the small spaces, right? And this is the argument that I have. I've watched how they train young people in soccer. There are certain truths that we cannot deny. When somebody, you put them in a particular program, eventually they produce the results on the other side. So that's why I'm using apologetics to challenge the narratives. We challenge them on radio and TV. When my wife is there, we use apologetic skills in relationships to prove certain narratives that they don't work. They work for a while, but eventually they will lead you somewhere else. So we try and teach in a way that will inspire people to think and compare and know how to process things and check them if they are truth, so that we are not moved by turning your lime to lemonade. Because turning your lime to lemonade at the end, how do I turn my lime to lemonade? You've paid somebody 15,000 to tell you to turn your lime to lemonade, but how are you going to do it? You are sitting with that problem. But when you think logically, be the person who pursues truth, you'll be liberated and you'll make better decisions for yourself and for your community. So that's how I'm using apologetics to get to lead the way I'm encouraging all of us to lead. Yeah.
What I'm also hearing you say is that if the emphasis is on me getting out of my poverty,
yeah,
then it's not going to work. But if the emphasis is on us together getting out of our poverty, then
yeah, but it's tough to spot that. Like, for instance, I say this and people want to kill me for it. Our lovely leader, Nelson Mandela, which we all love, when he got into the political space, it was not for the people. He went to school trying to deal with his own identity issues, situation. He went to school, he was trained as a lawyer. So when he went out to practice, the system kicked him out. So as he wants the system to accept him, he used political vehicle to fight the system so that it accepted him. So his leadership it was more of himself than for us. But he had to find comrades. Comrades are people who have the common enemy. But confidant are different type of people. Confidant, I'm for you, you are for me. But comrades, we have a common enemy. So he had to find comrades who also see the system, who also want to, and he happened to be the leader. But his leadership was not a sacrificial leadership than the leadership of Jesus Christ. When you look at Jesus Christ's leadership, his sacrifice, it's different. He had no need of his own. His God is all sufficient. He sacrifices his life for the benefit of everybody else so that they will in turn come in and enjoy his riches. That's a different type of leadership. These are two different types of leadership, and people don't see the difference. You'll have people equating Mandela with Jesus. These are two different types of leadership. So if we can push towards this type of leadership, but how do you push to that type of leadership? You must first know what that man was about, in this case, Christ. What was he about? And push towards the hope he had. They say to him, he enjoyed the cross, motivated by the hope he had of having us in eternity. So we have to endure suffering, sickness, lack, together as a community because we have a better hope. You take that hope away from us, that leadership is not possible. We will be limited to a selfish leadership. And the results of this self-leadership, it produces results like Mandela has produced, whatever that he has produced. But it gives us the leadership we have today. That's the problem. It gives us what we have today. People who think they are entitled to lead us and they are entitled to abuse our resources because they think they liberated us. You see, that's where the problem is. So once we can change the type of leadership we have, we will be better people. And that is tough. We need prayers.
I just want to say, when I came here this morning, I left my babies and my wife, and I thought I'm very unselfish, come and support. And the more you spoke, the more selfish it became, because every single sentence you said was just for me and an affirmation and a blessing, and I go back feeling very, I don't want to say blessed, hugged or affirmed. So the stuff you said was just, I almost want to put a verse next to each sentence you said so that I can re-quote it. And this is one of the TGIFs that I'm going to give immediately to my team, my colleagues, the people I work with, because you use simple sentences, but behind it, there's a whole philosophy that's different from the way that white Christians think.
Yeah.
And I think each of these lines can be used as a key to open up a conversation.
Yeah.
So many things. So I just want to say, you blessed me, you gave me affirmation. I'm very, very grateful for the way that you not think but are. And it seems basic, some of these things, but it's very advanced. It's countercultural. So out of all the TGIFs, it's a master class in its simplicity, because you didn't come quoting Americans.
Yeah.
So I know we don't know each other. I just want to say a very, very, very sincere thank you.
Thank you.
And there's so much here. And then not just to talk, I try and do these things for about 30 years. I've lived in poverty. And one of the practical things is I've accessed a network called Laveld Agrochem, one of the biggest farming guys. And they have a deal with us because we also plant. For every seed we buy, they match us 1-for-1. So I have all these amazing seed packs and stuff.
Wow.
So for this not to be a talk shop, I'll get details. And for your project, I think to support with visiting, with relaxing, with whatever, but also seed.
Amen.
I know it's a part, it's not the main thing.
Yeah.
But there's also something, so I just want to put that on the table if it's needed.
Yeah. Really appreciate
and yeah, so many blessings in here. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
So Torsten, January, he's there and he's there and that's all.
Okay. Deal.
Please, where?
No, you just swap places in January.
No, it's amazing. I upset people last week twice because we don't have to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We need to be the thumbs and ears. And people think it's a waste of time to go to a poor area to sit and listen.
Yeah.
So I know there's a time for the seed, but there's also a time to sit on your behind and listen.
Yes.
So that balance, I just love how you take it naturally, and even he's a little bit naughty, because when you say that you don't do it for yourself but for others, I think even that it's both. Even for a white person visiting you, you get something out of it.
Yeah.
It's not just
of course, it's a double-edged sword.
You walk so calmly with all these contradictions, you keep them together.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna really listen and share. Take out of it. So I'm just glad I was not stupid to stay at home today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
We still have a bit more also people on Zoom if you want. Nhlanhla, again, you sort of you half answered it, but can I just throw this and see what happens? So how does we sort of we talk about the prosperity gospel and we say, okay, so but this is the truth, this is prosperity gospel, this is true gospel. How does if I'm wondering how I'm going to feed my family tonight, then the gospel of just decree and declare the floodgates of heaven to open and claim your birthright, that's wow. Okay, and now you come to me with this true gospel that says, nah, it's not like that. The poor will always be with you, but heaven will be nice one day.
Yeah.
How does the true gospel actually sound better than the, I don't know, just claim it.
Yeah.
Confess it, speak it, have faith, and you'll get it.
Yeah. The true gospel is because it's true, it satisfies. That's number one, because it's true. Sometimes even if you don't understand it, but because it's true, as you follow, your eyes begin to open up. I like the verse that says, your word, oh God, is making me wiser than enemies. So we have to understand how God provides. God does not provide or how God guides us. Does not guide us by giving us. He guides by doing, and in his doing, we are being guided. And in that way, it makes us human beings, because in the process, we get to think, we get to relate, we get to do stuff in between. Picture this. Here, people are oppressed in Egypt. As they are oppressed in Egypt, God says to them, no, I'm going to take you out. They go out. And then he gives them specific instructions. Says to them, take all the silver, the gold, and the cattle from the Egyptians and take it with. Everybody is excited. Yeah, we are rich. But he leads them to the wilderness, where there are no malls. There are no, those things, they become useless overnight. Now they have to think. We have to walk by night where there's less heat. We have to relate. We have to eat, help each other, carry stuff, you know. Now they are learning a whole new way of doing life. That's the difference between prosperity gospel and the real gospel. The real gospel makes us human. It makes us feel and think for each other. It makes us pursue what is correct, what is right. It reprograms our value systems. It makes us appreciate human beings for who and what they are. Prosperity gospel, it makes us use people to achieve things, use people and hold on to this world that is decaying, and you want to hold on to the beauty that it's going, our bodies are getting old. We are going down, we are definitely going to the grave. But the prosperity gospel makes you hold on and try to keep this thing that you can keep, instead of walking with it and enjoy its maturity and know how to transform and change yourself as your system goes. I used to play soccer. I used to be fast, but now I play with my kids. By the time I trap the ball, they've taken it, and I'm like, I used to know how to do this. But what do? I have to adjust. Now I'm no longer the player that runs. I'm the player that thinks. Now I'm a player that just put the ball and put it. Put the ball and put it. I don't have to run with the ball. I used to run with it. That's what prosperity gospel tells you. You can run with it, even if your body says no. But true gospel is telling you, no, you can be wise. You can still be as effective. Play soccer, but now your contribution is more about opening up spaces than running. It's a different way of doing life. So in short, I've tried to simplify it, but I'm saying the true gospel makes us human. Prosperity gospel, we are counseling a lot of people from that stream who are suffering with depression. We are suffering with false hope. Their sense of identity is lost. They've pursued these things. It's not working. It's not. And we have to admit it's not working, and because it's not true. And it's promising everything that Satan promised Jesus Christ when he tempted him. So which side are we on?
Am I right in saying that the true gospel is not material for one day?
Yeah.
The true gospel is very material. The poor is always there to help. We pray for our daily bread, but prosperity don't pray for daily bread. They pray for a pickup van and a house and shoes and fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not physical and spiritual. It's just the daily bread in the Lord's Prayer. That's true. It's still material.
Yeah.
But it's the Ubuntu also is not for all of us to ride Mercedes.
Yeah.
Am I right in understanding that the true gospel is still very tangible in terms of human needs? It's just not fancy.
Yeah, and in terms of the giftings that God has given us. Someone came to me and said, I was speaking on TV, and I challenged certain narratives, and this person was convicted. Said, so why don't you go and be a political and change the politicians? And I'm like, my capacity is here. This is where I lead. And if I grow in capacity, probably I will get to that place. But for now, this is where I'm leading. So prosperity gospel makes you want to go for places even when you are not yet equipped to be in them. But I've realized that God grows us organically to certain levels of influence and as we go. So when I want to now go and speak to Mr. President, and when I get there, I'll find things that I've never even thought they exist. And he will convince me like that, and then I'll come back speaking a different language when I go back to the people. But if I grow organically, everything will come in at the right place and at the right time. So it is true prosperity, true gospel. There is an element of riches. We see them in the Bible, Abraham and everything. There are so many people who were rich. But what I noticed with all those people that were rich in the Bible who went in God's way, they were not content with those riches.
Yeah.
They saw the limitations of those riches. Zacchaeus, one guy, when he met Christ, he said, I give half of my wealth to the poor, and everyone I stole from, I'll give them 4 times of what I've stolen. Because he has found something true. He has found something real. He has found something. The rich young ruler he comes in and says, what must I do to inherit eternal life? This person is rich, he's young, he's a ruler, he's got everything that we're all looking for. We have full day vision. Actually, we want to stay young. He was young. We all fight for position and power. He was a ruler. We all want to be. He was rich, but he was discontent. He comes to Christ. Christ says, "Go sell everything." And hey, I wish he said invest. But he didn't. He said, "Give to the poor and come follow me." And that's where the beauty of life is. That's where the beauty of life is. If I've been on this other side, I've seen having money, controlling people, sending them to do the things you want, tasted that, feels good for a while, but it's not life-giving. What is life-giving is in sharing, is in seeing somebody moving from being nothing to be something. You find them making them see people making wise decisions. That's out of this world.
So
we're on 7:30, so let's make this the last one.
so we read in the Gospels that the poor people, the marginalized people, they got the message. The student, they got it.
Yeah.
But not so much the religious establishment or the affluent people and things like that. And big part of the problem is, I think for the vast majority of Christians, they live a sort of a self-sufficient life. They take care of themselves, and God has a role to play.
Yeah,
And it's not. And the Germans can help you with a Luther quote, but God can help you when you reach rock bottom. I'm paraphrasing very seriously, but basically, unless you've given up on trying by yourself.
Yeah.
Now poverty may be something like that, and but and thank you very much. That is what you're demonstrating, is that you are demonstrating these values. It's very difficult, and maybe it's false, and maybe it won't work. If you come demonstrating that you're self-sufficient and God has a role to play in your life, and you try and preach and you try and convert and so on into the marginal communities, it doesn't add up. It wouldn't add up for them.
It doesn't work. Doesn't work. I'm currently debating with this one guy who's passionate, very passionate. I love him. He's helping the young men who are recovering from drugs to stand on their own. And I'm challenging him on this area. He is pushing them towards positive thinking, do it yourself, push until something happens. I say to him, look, this boy went into drugs because his mind does not work. We need to develop his mind. If you're taking him back to trusting his mind, we are killing him more than helping him. Let's help the young man to trust God and then use his mind for the little things that they can achieve. If we do it that way, we are encouraging him. He feels, and we must move these things to say we will hug you when you have something, and if you don't have something, we don't hug you, because we are still pushing the same agenda. Let's help the young men to say, even when your mind is thinking at grade 5, you are still valuable to us. Because this is what we do. We increase our appetite for things, even when our minds are in grade 5 and our appetite is in grade 12. And we don't have the capacity to achieve this. And what's the solution to this? It will be corruption, it will be crime, it will be all sorts of things. But if we encourage people at their level to say you're still, and then we believe that this capacity will grow and grow and grow and grow. So that's what prosperity teaching does, and that is why I debunk it every time I get a chance. Thank you so much.